Hello and welcome to Skills to Pay the Bills. I'm your host, Tia Young, and today we begin a two-part series entitled Introduction to the Small Business Administration, its programs and its services. Our special guests for part one of the series are Julie Clowes, Deputy District Director, Nicole Porter, Assistant Director of Marketing and Outreach. Nicole also has a double role today because she is serving as my co-host. She's got her hands full today. Our third guest is Donald C. Moraney, Managing Principal of the Wealth Zone, Inc., and he is also a small business professional for over 30 years. Don is representing the small business community today. Hello, Julie, Nicole, and Don.
Hi, Tia.
How are you doing?
Fine.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Very good. We don't have a lot of time, so we're going to get right into it, and I'm going to start out with you, Nicole.
Great.
I'm going to pick on you. You're sitting closest to me. Can you just give us an overview of who SBA is and what it does?
Certainly, that's a great question. So the Small Business Administration is an advocate for small businesses. And what we do is assist small businesses who are either in the inception stage or actual businesses who are in existence who are looking to take it to the next level. So we wrap ourselves in 3 C's, which is contracting, capital, and counseling. So I'm going to briefly go over each one of those. So the counseling aspect, we partner small businesses or future small business owners with our resource partners. One of our major resource partners is an entity called SCORE. And what SCORE is a group of individuals who are very successful at what they did in their current or previous career who are now volunteering their time to future small businesses or current small businesses. We also have organizations that are in association with us, for example, the Women's Business Center. They have alternative office hours that are more accommodating to women's schedules and people's schedules in general. And I don't want anyone to think that the Women's Business Centers is simply limited to women because everyone is invited. So that's the counseling aspect. So with regard to the capital access, we actually, one of the things that I want to say at the Small Business Administration, we do not provide funding. So what we do is we actually guarantee loans that participating banks provide to small businesses. And so what does that mean? That means that a percentage of a loan, if it were going to default, that portion of the loan would be guaranteed by the Small Business Administration. And how does that benefit the small business owner? Many people want to know. And the question to that is, if a lending institution were perhaps on the fence and this person didn't have the traditional level of collateral, or they may not be the prototype of a typical borrower, that guarantee may be just the incentive that the bank needs to push them over the edge to provide that loan to that small business entity. So the final portion, the final C is contracting. So as we all know, we're in the Washington, D.C. district office. Contracting is the bread and butter of what we do here. And that's very important because we're one of 68 district offices. District offices are located throughout the country. And we have unique skill sets within our office that we can make available to the businesses and future businesses that are specific to this area. So, for example, we know that DC is government contracting, but if you were perhaps living in a more rural area, they would have district offices that could assist you, and the expertise of the personnel or the staffing would be able to assist you for that particular local market. So all of these different 3 C's, if you will, are what we utilize to support existing and future small businesses grow and thrive. And I look forward to today's discussion and telling the audience and about what we could do for them.
Thank you. Wow, that's a mouthful. I tell you, out of the 4 of us sitting here, I'm probably the greenest because you guys are subject matter experts. And you said one thing that I didn't know. I thought that SCORE was completely populated with retired people, and you're saying that some of them are still currently working.
Right.
And that I didn't know that.
Exactly. So some people have positioned themselves in their work schedule to have enough time, and they get a lot of satisfaction out of volunteering their time and services to small businesses. Because, you know, there are so many people. The greatest thing would be able to be associated with a future up-and-coming small business and to say that you had a hand in making that entity successful. So these individuals are passionate about what they do, and they're excited to engage the community.
Wow, that's something. I'm going to go to Julie now. Just listening at what Nicole said, it appears that SBA has a very, very large mission. How in the world do you keep all this together?
We do. I mean, Nicole just teased, some of what we do, and then within the 3 C's, there's lots of programs underneath that we haven't even begun to talk about. So we have a staff, a district office staff across the country, but that's not enough. We can't reach all the businesses. So we have a lot of partners. And Nicole talked about some of our counseling partners. We have the SCORE program, the Small Business Development Center program, and the Women's Business Centers locally. Nationally, there's also a Veterans Business Outreach Centers. We have lending partners, as Nicole talked about, and then we also have lots of community partners that help provide managerial and technical and sometimes financial assistance. So we do have to rely on some of these partners to help us reach all of our constituents, not just here in the Washington, D.C. area, but across the country.
I was going to ask you how many offices do you have across the country?
We right now we have 68 district offices, so there's at least one in every state, and some of the larger states have several offices. And then
I didn't know that. That's great.
some of our offices will also have what they call a branch office, so it's not as large as the district, but they have 1 or 2 people that are there. Some of these states are so wide and dispersed that for an office in one half of the state would have a difficult time serving the other half. So they place a branch office out there to help meet the needs of the entire state.
The entire state. I see Don shaking his head down there. Don, let's hear from you.
Oh, I'm just so excited to be on a panel with 2 executive level managers from the Small Business Administration. I mean, deputy director and assistant director. That is so fantastic, because what we're trying to let people know in the audience is that what the SBA does is real, and when the executives come out to talk about it, that really means they have a passion and commitment to what they're doing.
Right.
And so I'm really happy to be on a panel with these 2 great people.
Well, Nicole, I wanted to get back to you to ask you, you are Director over Marketing and Outreach.
Correct.
Exactly what is that? What do you do? How do you get the word out on the ground to the people?
That's an awesome question. So we collaborate with a lot of established community entities like chambers of commerces. We partner with universities. We work with faith-based institutions. We work with even K through 12 schools. We are in the position and our mission. We are not effective as an agency if we do not let the public know what programs and services that we have available. And one of the things that sometimes I do get in the community is that the government contracting process is very complicated. We want the public to know that we are to be utilized as someone that you can go to kind of demystify some of that complexity. And if you don't mind, I'd like to ask Julie a question.
Sure.
Great.
Your co-host, sure.
Thank you. So, Julie, what's one of the best ways, in your opinion, to kind of be that instrument, if you will, of kind of demystifying the government process with regard to what the public sees from the outside?
Right. I think establishing partnerships and getting out into the community are key, because we have this big message and we can't do it all by ourselves. We can't reach all the business owners like Don. We don't have the advantage of sitting next to him on this great panel. So we market the traditional ways through the media, but I think we're also very effective using the partnerships, and also I think people have been served by SBA, the small businesses, word of mouth, the people that can stand up and say, hey, I had this problem and SBA was there to help me. And they can help you too, because many of you have the same problem.
Right, that they have.
And for us, oftentimes the best advertising is simply the good experience that individuals who have interacted with the SBA have had. And when they go back and tell their communities, and they go back and tell other future and current small businesses that the SBA is there to help you in a way that you may not have known of. So in addition to us doing outreach, we also have community ambassadors who do the outreach on our behalf based upon their experiences with the Small Business Administration. And that's always a positive.
Well, Don, you are out all over, everywhere. I mean, you've traveled internationally as well as you have offices here in the States. What are you hearing from the folks that you run into, the small businesses that you run into? Are they a little bit intimidated by SBA, or are they comfortable with interacting with SBA?
Well, in the Metro Washington area, this is government contracting area. So most of the businesses here are familiar with what SBA does. They're just intimidated by the process because they found out about the process from someone who found out about it from someone else. And so they haven't interacted with Nicole and Julie and their staff. And so it's what they think the process is that they first have to overcome. They all know that contracting is probably the first thing that all businesses learn about in terms of how they can interact with SBA. And so outside of this area, there is a lot of misunderstanding about what contracting, what the working with SBA is. But again, as Julie said, we've got branch offices that they can go to. For new business owners, for existing business owners, what I think these two executives are going to tell us is that there is an opportunity for any business that can qualify to become extremely well placed if they work within the SBA system.
Right.
And so that's the word that we need to get out, but they also need to know that it's not an easy process to stay in, that their responsibilities, and I think that's what we need to talk about, to let the business know that, yeah, while SBA has a desire to reach out, that the business has a responsibility to be ready to work with SBA and also to be able to stay within their programs.
Right. Well, we're going to take a short station break. We will be right back with our special guest. So don't touch that dial.
Yeah, just wanted to call and say it's riveting. It's exciting television, even though the set falls down sometimes.
The most stimulating and rewarding television viewing I do. Been watching it for years and made a huge difference in my life.
The program was excellent. This is the second time I've seen it. I would love to get the tape.
He's great. I'd like to see him do more. Please encourage him.
And I just wanted to say how wonderful it is, and it's kind of nice that Fairfax County residents get to see these other cultures and other ethnic diversities.
I found this show very offensive. In fact, it was revolting.
I was astounded watching the show. Simply unbelievable.
I watch this channel from time to time. Great that there are local people doing this kind of thing, and thanks for existing and bringing us this kind of programming.
Do you have something to say about the programs on Channel 10? Call our viewer comment line at 571-749-1100 and press 3 at the main menu. Leave us a message telling us what shows you liked, what you didn't like, or if you need more information.
Hi, we're back. For those of you who are just joining us, you're watching Skills to Pay the Bills in part 1 of our 2-part series on the Small Business Administration, its programs, and its services. We have with us today Julie Close, Deputy Director, District Director, Nicole Porter, Assistant District Director of Marketing and Outreach, and from the small business sector, Don C. Maraney, Managing Principal of the Wealth Zone, Inc., is representing the small business community. So welcome back. Julie, would you care to piggyback a little bit off of what Don just said?
Great. Yes, I think one of the questions people have, or maybe they're thinking to themselves, where do I start? Either I have a great idea for a business and I just don't even know what step 1 should be, or I'm in business and I have a bunch of questions and I'm not sure which resource an SBA can help. I think one of the great best first stops for most businesses is one of our counseling partners. We already mentioned SCORE, the service used to be called the Service Corps of Retired Executives. Some people might be familiar with that phrase. And the SBDC program, Small Business Development Centers, and also our Women Business Centers. And I like to think it's a no wrong door approach. So no matter what resource you pick, they're there to help you. And the beauty of the counseling is that all the counseling sessions are free. So if you want to go once and just ask a couple questions, you can do that. If you want to go 20 times, 30 times, and have a more ongoing relationship because you're have a lot of questions, or you're in the very beginning of your business and you want that assistance. That's what they're there for. And I know we mentioned SCORE. SCORE is mostly retired executives. They're all volunteers, though. And they have that great practical hands-on expertise. They've kind of got the been there, done that approach. So what the program will try to do is when you come in, they'll try to match you with someone who has the skills and expertise that you're looking for. So either in your industry, or if you say, oh gosh, I need help with understanding my cash flow and managing my financial statements, they'll try to maybe match you with a retired CPA, for example.
That's good.
Yeah, so they try to make that connection whenever possible. The SBDCs are professional business counselors. This is their job, and so they tend to be generalists and can able to talk about any topic you can probably imagine, whether you're starting up and want to know how to write a business plan, or whether you've been in business for 10 years. And you're like, I need to grow. What's some growth strategies that we can talk about? And then we have the Women's Business Centers, as Nicole already mentioned, that their niche, or what they tailor their services for, are socially and economically disadvantaged women. So they may offer, like Nicole said, non-traditional hours. Some offer childcare services so that you can go to counseling and you have a safe place for your child while you're getting that assistance. So I like to think, no matter where you start, hopefully we can get you to the right place.
Right. Well, I wanted to move a little bit to a couple of the programs which you have alluded to this afternoon, and that is the Women-Owned Small Business program and your Service Disabled Veterans program. Can you talk a little bit more about what is the process for people becoming involved in those programs? And are they 8A programs, or are they specialty programs?
The first thing, I'm just going to answer a part of it and turn it over to Julie, but the first thing when you say what's the process is reach out to your district office.
Oh, okay.
Let us assist you in finding out what the best resource partner might be for you. Okay. So what do I mean by that? I mean where you are in regard to your business development phase. We may think, okay, well, this particular resource partner may benefit you to a better degree than this particular one at this time. So the specific entities that you just mentioned, we do have programs that are targeted, that are available to assist, and I'll turn it over to Julie to.
Mm-hmm. I think in the government contracting world, there's so many things to choose from. There's certifications that you either can receive from the government or from an outside entity in some cases, or there's just what we call a self-certification process, where you tell the world, the federal agencies, that I am, a small woman-owned business, for example, or I am a small disadvantaged business, for example. And there's so many to choose from. I think, as to piggyback on Nicole now, that reaching out to the district office is probably a great first step to help you navigate and see what certifications or status may benefit your business and how you can leverage those. And then the process, will vary depending on which one of those programs might fit your needs.
Right.
From a small business perspective, would you say that the fact that there are so many choices, and we learn from the small business community, is that intimidating to you? And because that's where we want to be a hand to the communities in which we serve, is to kind of be that intermediary, if you will, to kind of break down some of those walls of confusion.
No, the number of programs are not intimidating. It's understanding what the programs are, what the requirements are, how to become certified or self-certified. And you say, talk to the district. That's when people get really mixed up. Who do I talk to? Who do I call? How do I get in contact with them? So your website is great. Your website explains everything. It tells you what to do. But after you've done that, the question is, what do I do next? And that's when a small business usually needs to talk to someone. They normally talk to their friends or an associate, so they get whatever that person knows. They never talk to the district office to get the real information. And so by the time they either decide that they're not going to do it because they got misinformation, or they're going to do it, they still haven't talked to you. So I use my example. 30 years ago, when I left my job, went into business, I called and they sent me to SCORE.
Right.
So I actually went to SCORE before I even started my business, and that was great. But that's because I call. So
Exactly.
we just have to get these people to call.
John, let me ask, what was your experience with SCORE? Can you walk us a little bit? I
Sure,
know it's
sure.
been 30 years ago, but
That's okay,
what was that
because
like?
since then I've actually worked for Small Business Development Center and lectured, so we give back. But the SCORE experience was great because I worked for the Internal Revenue Service, I was a mid-level executive, and so I knew the government, but I did not know the public sector, the business side. And working with these men and women who had the experience and had the exposure, years of it in various industries, they actually sat with us, taught classes, but after the classes, they would sit with us and share their experiences. And give you an example, I came out and he asked me, so what are you? I said, I'm a consultant. He said, a consultant at what? I said, what do you mean at what? I'm a consultant. And he explained to me that you have to consult at something. And it was such a simple discussion, but it was a discussion that changed everything because most people don't identify what they do. And the people at SCORE were able to walk me through the thought process to determine what I was good at. And that saved me a lot of headache.
Was this a one-time meeting, or was it over a year, or did they stay with you until you were ready to walk?
Many classes, and you choose which ones you want to go to.
Okay, I
But
see.
while you're choosing, some of the SCORE executives become friends. And those friendships turn into learning experiences and into mentoring experiences. And one of the things that they teach you is that you should then become a mentor. So SBA is one of the places that we all need to know how to get to. And Nicole and Julie will tell us how to do that, I'm sure.
Well, the other question that I wanted to ask you, and this is just something for me, what does NAICS stand for? And how do you pronounce it? Is it NIACS, or how do you pronounce that?
I pronounce it NAICS.
NAICS?
So I could
Okay,
be
NAICS.
corrected by somebody in the future saying I'm not doing it, pronouncing
right.
the acronym correctly.
That's the way
but
we pronounce it too.
Is that
Yeah,
NAICS?
yeah.
Is that how you say
we're-
NAICS?
it's here, I guess we could say, 4 out of 5, say, but,
I've seen that, and I've always, tell us about that. What is that?
It's simply the classification system for businesses, and if you're going to make me do the acronym, I better, let's see, North American
Industry
Classification
Classification
System. And it used to be called SIC codes. And then,
That I remember.
yes.
And we call those 6.
Right, we call it 6, that's right.
And what happened is, out of NAFTA, actually, they wanted to have a unified way to identify businesses across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And so the NAICS code was born. And so you can still probably find on the internet, if you search the comparisons between your SIC code and your NAICS code, because they tried to translate, what people used to use into what is used now. But it's been used for so long now that I think everyone is just familiar with the
They're
NAICS
familiar
code.
with that.
But
Everybody
if you want to do business with the government, that's one thing you need to know. So, and there's lots of ways to look it up on the internet that are at no cost.
So earlier, Nicole, in your earlier response, you talked about that the money doesn't actually come from SBA. It's banks and lenders that do that. Are they pretty easy to work with? I mean, do they go by your guidelines, or do you go by their guidelines once they get the funding?
Well,
How does that work?
That's an excellent question. It's one that often comes up. So we do not instruct the banking institutions or kind of direct them or force them to give loans, if you will. We allow them to follow their metrics or goals. Again, we simply give them instruction on how to properly process the Small Business Administration loan. We talk about the benefits and what to their particular bank, to the community in which they serve. And that question is really good, and it's often one that I get. And something that came up earlier with regard to accessibility of the Small Business Administration. So my office, we put out a monthly newsletter. And that monthly newsletter talks about upcoming events that we have within our office, and it also allows you to kind of put a face to the district office. So our distribution list is about 55,000 individuals, and you can go right now today to www.sba.gov/DC to get on our distribution list. And a lot of the questions that the community have are right on some of the programs and services that we offer right out of our district office.
Wow, that's great. Well, I tell you, time really flies when you're having fun. And this has been a great session. It's been an eye-opener for me because you taught me things that I didn't know or things that I had big question marks there. So I really thank you so much for it. As I said, our time is up, and we want to thank our special guests, from the Small Business Administration, Julie Clowes and Nicole Porter, and of course, Don C. Maraney from the Wealth Zone, Inc. We want to welcome you guys back anytime. You know, you've got great information, and I know our viewers want to hear more. If you have any questions for me, if you'd like to be a guest on Skills to Pay the Bills, please just email me at skillstorock@gmail.com. Thank you so much again for watching. Bye-bye.